Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. It's Monday afternoon, and joining us as always, Jason Cameron. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm enjoying the day off again on this Monday. Going to be working a couple days this week, but enjoying the day. It's a beautiful day, and actually outside my apartment window, the trees are beginning to leaf. Oh my goodness, summer's coming. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah. I know, yeah, it's something I've noticed too. It's amazing. We had such a stretch of great weather, then it was a little bit lousy this weekend, but we have some sun again, and the leaves are on the trees, the blossoms are there. It's good feeling, and we're going to have a fantastic spring and summer this year, better than last year, I hope. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I hope that we're going to have the opportunity and the ability to see people. Seeing people is good, and that's good. And I just have a feeling that I think the summer is going to be really nice. So I think people will try to do their best to get outdoors and do their thing within reason, and obviously being safe and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, man, enjoying the sun.
How's the new gig? It's great that you're only working a few days a week.
It's good. It's good. I can't complain. I'm actually working with a friend, and so he's actually been able to give me a couple days here and there for the week. So I'm like, all right, good enough. Thank you very much.
Nice. So you were able to watch this UFC card, a historic card with 3 title fights on the line, UFC 261. Historic for many reasons, but pretty much the biggest one that everybody's talking about is they finally had some live fans, first time in 400 days. March 22nd of 2020 was the last time that they had fans in the stands. Most of us were kind of disappointed that the UFC made this decision this early. Nice to hear a crowd, but you got to worry about COVID, in my opinion.
Yeah, COVID, right? It's still there. You'd think from watching that UFC, and they put on a great event, by the way, mind you, great event, awesome. But you'd think that we were back to normal. Here's the thing, though: we are not back to normal. We're not even close. I had mixed feelings. I still have mixed feelings. I love the fact that the fans were in the stands. Don't get me wrong. I love that. I love the fact that the athletes definitely love that fact. You could tell that the energy was up. Everybody was amped. Everybody was excited to be there. Here's the thing, though. I didn't see any social distancing. I didn't see any of that. I barely even saw anybody wearing masks. So are you trying to tell me that everybody in the audience has been vaccinated? Are you trying to tell me that there's nobody in that audience of 20 to 25,000 people that didn't have COVID at that time? And then also, too, there was no buffer between fans and athletes. So athletes were touching the fans again, like they did before. So so the thing is, I'm asking myself, what's going on here? What happens if some of your, I don't know, champions catch COVID because of this event that you just put on? Or any of your staff catches COVID, then passes it on to the athletes? I don't know. I'm sure that the UFC has taken utter precautions to try to protect everybody. But how do you protect everybody if you have that many fans in a stadium? How do you do that? I don't know. Maybe they figured it out. But I got to tell you, man, you really put everybody at risk when you do things like this.
Yeah, it concerns me. This is an ongoing pandemic. Obviously, in the States, they've been doing a really good job vaccinating people, but still a large population isn't vaccinated. They should have had a lot less fans, social distancing, and procedures in place. But it seemed like full packed house, not one seat empty, no masks from the shots I was seeing of the crowd, and like you say, athletes touching fans. I would be really shocked if there's not a lot of COVID cases that come out of this.
Yeah, me too. Like, I would be super shocked if there isn't, because I'm pretty sure there should be, because you're just asking for it. You really are asking for it. This is what you asked for, where you put such a large number of people inside a building during a pandemic. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it wasn't a good look, and I wish they wouldn't have gone there, but Florida has had a bit of a disregard for it right from the start. UFC did hold an event there early on, and it's kind of it's disheartening that they did it, but we have to talk about the event. There was, as you said, they did put on a great event. Nice to see 3 title fights again on this card like they did earlier in the year. And all in all, from the early start, early prelims, and the main card, a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. I think the whole entire card was a little bit overshadowed by a broken leg that was gruesome to watch, tough to see, and so bizarre that it happened to a guy that had it happen to him when he won the belt years ago. So Chris Weidman suffered a horrific break to his leg. And it seems like it's most of what people are talking about right now.
It was horrific to the extreme. And it happened so quickly that at first I was watching with 2 friends and we were like, wait, what just happened? Because it was literally the first strike thrown in the entire fight. And then when you see the instant replay, because it happened really fast, and you're like, and then I was just like, oh, I'm going to be sick. And it was super weird that it happened to the guy that had the same thing happen to him when he fought Anderson, and Anderson broke his leg on his shit. And it looked like it was almost the exact same kind of break. It was as weird as it gets. Now, here's the thing. I watched the event a day late. So when I was watching the fight beforehand, I thought that was where the injury happened. I thought that was the injury. That was the accident, not knowing that the next fight would be the catastrophic injury.
Sure was tough. Nobody was happy. It was, very, you could see, sort of a pall grow over the whole arena. Uriah Hall was muted in his post-fight interview. Everybody was just wishing the best for him. He was carted off and had surgery immediately later on that evening into the wee hours of the night. I have an update here from Chris Weidman's social media. He posted something yesterday, and let's take a little look at it.
What's going on, guys? I seen and heard all the love and support I'm getting. I haven't really been able to be on my phone too much. Pain is pretty bad. So I'm like now. So I think it's like 3:30 in the morning. They're trying to get me some more pain meds now. I just want to let everybody know I'm still thankful for all the love and support, and I really do want to get back to you all. I know Uriah Hall was super classy and upset this happened to me, and I really appreciate that. I know Anderson Silva came out and said, some really nice things. It's pretty brutal, but I'm gonna get through this. I think it's gonna be 8 weeks till I can walk without crutches and stuff, and drive and all that. And then as far as like actually training, I don't know. They said between 6 and 12 months, I'll be good to go.
So, yeah, nice to see him posting something at least. You worry about a guy's career. You worry about the possibility of him ever being the same again from something so bad. But thankfully, he went into surgery right away. From all accounts, the surgery went really, really well, and he'll be on the road to recovery. And let's hope we see him back doing what he loves soon.
Yeah, man. Oh man, it just sucked that it happened. You know what I mean? But it's great to see that he's recovering. He's in good spirits. Obviously, the surgery was a success. They reset his leg and everything else, and he will be back to form. It's just going to take some time. Man, it's never good to see somebody injure themselves that horrifically in the octagon. It's just never. It really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. It's like, yes, we want to see violence, but like in the right way, not like that. Never like
that. I didn't really want to show it. If you do want to see it, anybody, yeah, it's available online places. But yeah, it definitely sucked that it happened. Horrible injury, and we never want to see something that bad. You and I have talked quite a bit since we started this podcast on calf kicks being the new thing that everybody uses as an advantage to try to slow down the other fighter. Do you see injuries like this changing anybody's approach?
No, I don't. I think those kind of injuries, like what happened to Weidman, that what happened to Anderson Silva, is 1 in 10,000 shot. Like it's like you hit the perfect spot that was weak on your leg, and it broke like that. Snapped like a twig. I think people are still going to be going to that calf kick, and like anything, it's the technique. And if you're suddenly off on your technique, it could have apparently catastrophic consequences for you if you throw it wrong, right? So I think people are still going to use the calf kick, but they'll probably be a little bit more judicious in how they throw it.
I just finished a podcast episode with Tanner Boser, UFC heavyweight contender, and he's known for his leg kicks, very, very strong, lethal leg kicks. We didn't get into a conversation today about that, but really happy to have Tanner come in and be a guest, and we had a fun time discussing it. I guess you got to see a few minutes of it before we came on today.
Yeah, I did. I got the part where you were talking about like how he had to quarantine because you've gone through something like that yourself, and Tanner was echoing the same sentiments that you've echoed, which is, well, if you have consistent negative tests, why would you still need to quarantine for 14 days? It's a great question, Tanner. It's a great question for our medical professional staff that takes care of us in America and in Canada, in the fact of, if you do have consistent negative results, do you still need to quarantine? That's a great question. I can't answer it apparently because I'm not a medical professional, but it seems to me that you should be okay. I guess this is me just spitballing. I'm throwing stuff out there, just throwing it out there, but it seems like you would be okay.
Good point. Yeah, Tanner makes good points, and you make good points. And I recommend all of our viewers and listeners find the Tanner Boser podcast. Great guy, great Canadian, Albertan. There is a lot of stereotypes about Canadians and Albertans, and he matches some of those stereotypes, but just the good ones, just the really great ones where you love a guy who was raised in a small town, end up finding a sport that he loves, gets to travel the world, gets to become known, gets to reach all of his goals and his dreams. And he's a still humble, small town kid, small town guy, hasn't changed, even though he's got notoriety and fame and fortune and all that type of stuff that goes along with it.
Yeah, man. Well, he seems like a very cool dude, very chill, very relaxed. And yes, like as you said, very much Alberta. But at the same time, he's a great individual, and I wish him nothing but the best in his next fight coming up. Nothing but the best.
Okay, well, yeah, now that the tough thing is out of the way with the Weidman injury, why don't we talk about the main event? This was a highly anticipated event, a rematch between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal came in as a late replacement when Darren Till got hurt, had 6 days notice, tried to come in and fight him, was able to take him to a decision, but Kamaru demonstrated his superiority in that fight, and the UFC said, okay, Jorge, you deserve a full camp and an ability to show what you can do with the right amount of training and an ability to know your opponent. But this outcome was the same, with Kamaru getting his hand raised, but he was able to knock out Jorge Masvidal for the first time in his career, and it was a definitive win for Kamaru. And he has risen up to one of those pound for pound top fighters in the world. It was an impressive performance from me.
Yeah, shocking. I'm shocked. I thought this was going to be a war, and then it wasn't. It just wasn't. I'm going to have to give Kamaru Usman a little bit more respect because of the fact that the man, he has managed to find a way to win in any of his fights, and all of them are always different. But he keeps improving with every fight. So the fighter that we saw against Masvidal was definitely not the same fighter that we saw against Masvidal for the second time. Like, he improved that much more and that significantly, where he had the wherewithal. Because Masvidal said he tricked him. He thought there was going to be a heck of a lot more wrestling. He thought it would be more of a wrestling-centric thing. Yet Usman said, "Nah, I'll stand up with you. I'll stand." Because the one thing that you can never forget with Usman, he has a ton of power. He's got a ton of power. And that power was on display in the second round, where he hit him with that right. And I got to tell you, I don't think anybody in that division would survive that right hand. That was as lethal a right as I've ever seen in my freaking life. Like, it was a movie right hand. He hit him, spit went flying across the octagon, and he was out before he hit the mat. He was out cold. And then a couple more smashes to the face, and then it was called. Although I think it was Herb Dean was in that one, right? Is that Herb? So Herb, I'm just going to say this a little bit slow on getting in there, because he was like, kind of like, is he out? It's like, no, Herb, he was out when he got hit. I don't know if he noticed that, but he was out, man. And so when he finally stopped the fight, I was just like, okay, well, that was putting a stamp on it. No more rematches. It's over.
It's over. Yeah, it was definitive. It was a hell of a right hand. So much power, stepped right into it. Just drove it right through Jorge. And yeah, he kind of woke him up with a hammer fist or two. But yeah, you can't fault Herb. He's one of the most veteran referees. He just saw this flash knockdown, tried to jump in, not sure what to do at this moment because he saw Masvidal moving a little bit, but realized quick, no, he's not intelligently defending himself, and this fight is over.
Yeah, and that's because he was twitching because he was out cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the movement that he saw. That's what he saw.
Yeah. So Kamaru is the champ still. He's really beat all comers, as they say. They've already kind of said that Colby Covington is getting a rematch, getting a second opportunity. Do you think this moves the needle? Do you think they'll be able to get much interest in this? Seems like Usman, should be heavily favored and, be able to take out Colby again.
What was he wearing? What was that? Like that with that camo suit? What the hell was? Oh man, I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, all right. So he's doing this WWE thing again. This is good, and he's wearing this it's ridiculous suit. Looked awful. I'm just gonna say, it looked awful. It was awful.
True.
And at the same time, I'm like, okay, so he said He's saying a bunch of stuff. He's saying all the right things that try to hype the fight. Here's the one thing that Usman has to say. The only thing he has to say is like, I'm just going to shut him up again. I'm just going to break his jaw again. Because he did that in the first fight. But all respect to Colby Covington, the man fought with a broken jaw for, I believe, like 3 rounds. So he's super tough. So he's going to be super tough again, but I don't know what he's going to do to change the outcome. Like, that's going to be, like, I'm really curious to see what his plan of attack is. Yeah. I don't know.
The only person that Usman hasn't fought in that top tier of guys is Wonder Boy, and I think he's fighting fairly soon. So, yeah, it looks like Covington's got the match. He's pretty hated. He's quite the mouth. He's going to stir up some trouble. He's going to, run his mouth like usual, and then that can create, the animosity needed. I guess, maybe the viewership, but Usman really showed that he's notch above this whole entire division, and I can see a long run coming from this guy.
He could, hey man, I'm looking forward to seeing just how far he can take it. I don't know if he's going to get into any GSP territory. Kind of a really hard thing to do, but right now, we'll see. We'll see, because once he beats, if he does beat Covington again, now he's just going to recycle people, like all these people that he's already beaten, except for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. If Wonderboy wins his next fight, so he can have a shot at the champ.
That was his 14th straight win in the UFC. He's second for longest winning streak, behind Anderson Silva, who has 16. He tied Pat Miletich for the 3rd most title fights in this division. He's not in GSP's territory. I don't know why recency bias seems to always rear its ugly head when they talk about this, but he's got many, many years to go and many fights to win before he gets to be in that GSP conversation, I believe. But it was pretty definitive to give Gamebred his first KO in 50 pro fights. Masvidal was gracious in defeat. He said sorry to all his friends and family in Florida. He said to his kids, "Hey, daddy's okay. Sorry, just go to bed now. I'll be fine. I'll see you tomorrow." You got to feel sorry for Masvidal, but I think he can talk himself into some big fights coming up too.
Yeah. He's not dropping out of the top 5. You know what I mean? You lost to the champ. It's fine. A lot of people lose to the champ. So I did love the fact that he was super classy in defeat. He was ridiculously classy. Whatever beef that him and Usman had was squashed right there and then, because it's like, you're the man. You got me. We're good. We're done. I did appreciate that. And yeah, I believe still on the horizon. There's still a lot of big fights for Masvidal. He's still a top dog in that division. He's just not the alpha of the division.
It's been 12 years since he's been finished. As I said, first time he's ever been knocked out. A really shocking result, but now it definitely keeps Usman up on the champion's top rung and with the belt. In the co-main event, we had new and old champion Rose Namajunas, the first woman to ever avenge a title loss and recapture the belt. This was not the biggest shock in the world, but Zhang had really shown, a amazing career. She had a 21 fight unbeaten streak. She came to the title, and Rose came in as an underdog. But man, that was a hell of a performance. An amazing kick that knocked Zhang down. She didn't even remember it seconds later. It was a definitive win for me too.
Again, shocking. I thought this would test both athletes like metal, their will. I thought, again, this is going to be set up for a war. I really did. And then it wasn't. It's over quick. I believe it was 3 minutes and 20 seconds at the 3:20 mark of the first. That's when the knockout happened. And it was over. Like, I was just like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, it's over. Okay. All right. Well, she won. But I couldn't be happier because I love Thug Rose. I love what she's all about. I love the humbleness. I love her approach. And I love the fact that she doesn't hide anything about how she feels about being a champion or where she's at in her head or anything else like that. I just love it. Like, she's absolutely unique in that respect. She's just real. She's very real. And I couldn't be happy for her. I was rooting for her. I wanted her to win. I didn't know if she could win, but apparently I had nothing to worry about. She definitely could win.
No, I really appreciated her. I love her candor. I love her openness. She said that having the belt last time was a burden. She felt was lifted off her shoulder. She really took it tough being the champ and trying to be that champion. I hope that it goes much better for her this time. She said she didn't handle it very well, but she wanted to show her abilities and recapture a title. It was fantastic. Joe Rogan had tears. I felt some tears welling up. I was really, really happy for someone to see them climb the mountain, get knocked back down, and get back on top of the mountain. It's rare thing to happen in combat sports, but a huge win for her.
Yeah, it just shows like the perseverance and the character of a person to say, okay, I got knocked back down. Yeah, there's certain things that I could have done better when I was the champion, but you know what? When I get back there again, I'll just do those things better. And then that's where she's at right now. I'm back there again on the top of the mountain again. And then all the things that she was concerned about when she was the champion before, now she can fix. And like, I think just basically her perspective is radically different from what it was the first time. And I think she'll be able to handle the pressure and all the stuff that comes with it way better this time than the first time.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really fantastic to see. I've got a lot of time for Pat Barry. Really enjoyed his mixed martial arts career, and they seem like such a great power couple. And the Namajunas reign starts again. So it's going to be fun to see who the UFC pits against her. We'll see some contenders emerge very soon, I'm sure. The third and the first fight of the night, that was the title fight, went according to plan for most people. I think a lot of people thought Andrade had a really legitimate shot because of her power, but Shevchenko, just showed that she's miles ahead of her competition, and another level was raised again, and it was impressive to watch. She really was a superior athlete in that cage that night.
So I think the analysts or the professionals were saying Andrade would have like a advantage in the wrestling department. She did not. And Shevchenko made it a point that she does not have an advantage in the wrestling department by taking her down over and over and over again. Like, you're just cementing the fact that it's like, no, she's not better than me anywhere. Like, literally, that's
takedowns. She had 7 takedowns. It was amazing.
Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. It was super dominant because Andrade has to be one of the strongest women in the division. Just look at her. And she was overpowered by Shevchenko. So what does that tell you? It tells you it tells you as much as I need to know, which is, oh man, she is not going to be beat for a very, 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 hold on a second, I'm not done yet. Very, very long time. She's going to be at the top, man. Because again, as I've said before, the only person that's come close or has beaten her is Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes. All right, that's it. So what does anybody else have a chance to even come close to beating her? No, man, you just don't have one. It's gone.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. She got takedowns immediately as soon as this fight started. Andrade was able to get back to her feet, but then just another immediate takedown. She was 5 for 5 in the first round of her takedowns. She got 7 takedowns in the fight, and once she got her in a crucifix and landed some elbows on it, Dan Miragliotta had no choice but to stop the fight. It was it was a complete domination, and yeah, we're just seeing how incredibly superior she is. Amanda Nunes is the GOAT, but this is the baby GOAT. This is the the second in line. Man, it's great to see such incredible skill from these two women, and yeah, both of them are going on long title reigns. That's going to put some things in the record books that might be very hard for any other women to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. Because I just don't. There's nobody coming up right now that can threaten their reign for now. And it's just to look at the superiority and just how good those two ladies are. I don't see it. I don't know who's going to be able to beat them. Like they'd have to have an incredibly off day, like where they're sick or something's very catastrophically wrong, and they go into the octagon and they fight. Because I just don't see it. I don't see it. I do foresee possibly a super fight between those two, because like literally that's it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, great to see 3 title fights. A lot of very interesting scenarios emerged from this card. But this was a card that was stacked all the way through. We've already talked about the welterweight or the middleweight battle between Weidman and Uriah Hall. But the fight that started off the main card was Jimmy Crute and Anthony Smith. And these guys are tough. They're very powerful, super strong. Anthony Smith's kicks ended this. I haven't seen a guy lose the ability to walk so badly, so quickly. Man, his ankle was just folding over on him because he had no sensation in his leg. It was crazy how much his leg immediately couldn't work for him anymore.
Well, I guess as they were saying that Lionheart targeted, he kicked him in a way that he hit the nerve in his leg. I've only seen that happen once, and I remember when it did happen. That was Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo, where he did a leg kick, and Henry Cejudo's leg did the same thing. It did that weird thing where he couldn't control his leg, literally anymore. And so when you saw him fall over, I go, I blew out his knee. Fight's over. Then the fight wasn't over. Like, I think even Anthony Smith was shocked because he came after him. And he goes, oh, I'm still fighting. My God, I can't believe this. Like, I was super impressed with Jimmy Crute's will to win. I was just like, wow, these people are superhumanly tough, because that's not normal. Like, if somebody does that to my leg, I'm out. Done. Get me to the hospital. I'm just going. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, man. But his mentality was, got to fight to win. I'm going after him.
Yeah. Even after the fight, he said, I'm just going to take him down and try to fight on the ground and not have to worry about my leg for a while. But he was so disappointed when the doctor called it off. And he is a warrior, and he didn't care that one leg was gone. He was going to continue on. It was a performance that I think Dana White's going to, give him props, because he did not want to finish that fight, was not going to quit.
No, man. But once the doctor said, walk to me, kind of like doing a sobriety test, pretty much, in the octagon, which I thought was kind of funny. And then when Jimmy's like, come on, let me fight. And I'm like, no, dude. Even I was like, no, man. Your head cookie's folded over.
Yeah.
You can't move the leg.
It was a legitimately good stoppage.
Yes, it was. Like, the doctor did his job there and said, I'm going to protect your well-being, because you can't do it. You can't fight anymore. We're done. It was a good stoppage. Very good stoppage.
But yeah, you were said that you had heard there was an injury on the card. Those two fights that start off the main card both ended in injury, both from kicks. And yeah, let's hope that Jimmy Crute's leg is fine. No serious damage to it, and he can continue. That this really should elevate Anthony Smith too. He's a former title challenger, and he doesn't have to worry about John Jones being there anymore. We'll see. Anthony Smith should have a good opponent coming up.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. Like, cause hey, he took out a very game and a guy that's I believe will be in the top 10 eventually at some point, Jimmy Crute. Like, so yeah, he should be getting somebody very good to fight very, very soon. Anthony Smith.
He's been a very, very, very busy fighter. 51 fights in his 32 year. He's 32 years old. 51 fights. Man, his jab was so stiff and crisp, and his kicks are phenomenal. And yeah, he's not done yet. Some people were calling that his career was over, but no, he proved that he's still a very, very tough opponent. Let's switch to the prelims a little bit. The main feature fight from the prelims was Randy Brown, the Jamaican, facing off against the Brazilian Alex Cowboy Oliveira. And Rude Boy looked fantastic. Really, really, just was able to, impose his will, knock Oliveira down with a huge right hand. Was able to get the rear naked choke in and force a tap. Super impressive performance. And, I always mention Jamaican, home country of your heritage and ancestry. What do you think of Randy Brown's performance?
A masterful. It was amazing because if that fight was going on anymore, he was actually going to be in a little bit of trouble because Oliveira was hitting him with some nasty calf kicks. Nasty. Right? It's like, so that was beginning to add up. But then all of a sudden he unleashed that right hand kind of out of nowhere, floored Oliveira, put him down. And then he did something that I haven't seen too often, where he sunk in the rear naked choke with one arm, because Oliveira had wrist control of his other arm. And Randy Brown is just like, you can have that arm. I just need one. And he choked him out with one arm.
Yeah,
that was super impressive to me. I was just like, oh my goodness, he's actually going to do it. He's going to choke this man out with one arm. That's like a level of strength and power that you just don't see, and you wouldn't expect from somebody of his body shape and body size, because he's extremely lanky, but apparently extremely, extremely strong to do that.
Well, I think that length of his arms actually probably helped him get that, because he was able to actually put the arm around and reach back on the shoulder and get some strength and some leverage to that choke. But yeah, you have to be powerful to do it with one arm. It's one of the most rare rear naked chokes we've ever seen. And most guys can get out of it if they've got one hand free. And it was a shock that he was forced to tap, or he was going out.
Yeah, man. If he didn't tap, he was going out. He was going out on a shield, which I thought maybe Oliveira was going to do because he has done that before. But a great win by Randy Brown against a very, very tough opponent in Cowboy Oliveira.
Okay, the welterweight fight between Dwight Grant and Stefan Sekulic went to a decision, almost finished right at the very, very, very end of that third round. Almost a guillotine, almost finished the body snatcher, but he was able to get the decision win. He's won 3 of his last 4. Split decision. This was a really tough, close fight. Sekulic just needed a few more seconds and he had that win, but Dwight Grant is the victor.
I was a little bit surprised at the results, to be honest with you. I thought Sekulic actually won the fight, but they gave it to Grant for inactivity on Sekulich's part. That's what I kind of thought what happened in that fight, because Sekulich didn't really do that much, but he did enough to always take advantage, right? Like, so you could say that he was kind of conserving his strength throughout the entirety of that fight, where you could tell with Grant, he was eventually getting worn down because of the nervousness, and you could see that he had the jitters, and that will burn up your cardio pretty quick if you're always constantly tense like that. And I don't know, man. It just felt to me, since Sekulich didn't do enough, like he wasn't really throwing strikes, but when he did, he took him down. But he didn't do, like, it just seemed like he didn't do enough. But positionally, throughout the course of the first 2 rounds, I thought he had done enough to win some, like at least 2 of those rounds. Like he definitely won the 3rd round, and I thought he won like the 1st or the 2nd. So I don't know. I have question marks about that particular one, because I'm thinking maybe they didn't give him the win because of the inactivity that he showed in the fight.
Yeah, he got a late takedown in the 1st round. Sort of seemed like that was so even that probably would have, gave him the round. As I said, really late guillotine attempt in the 3rd round. Felt like he probably won that 3rd round. He was getting some takedowns, but yeah, once he had the takedown, other than at the very end, he didn't do a lot with them. So maybe 2 of the judges decided that Body Snatcher had done more with his time, but razor thin decision there, and we'll see what shakes out for the rest of the guys. We had a good middleweight battle between Brendan Allen and Carl Robertson. Ended up in a submission win by Allen. Really fantastic takedown, and was able to secure a heel hook when Robertson went for his own. Didn't have any position to do it, and ended up having the tab like 5 seconds left in that round. Tough on Robertson. He shouldn't have went for that. If he wasn't going to be able to get any type of secure of it, he left his foot in the wrong spot and had to tap, or else he was in trouble.
Yeah, and it looked like when he went for his shot, because they were almost like in a 50-50, right? But Allen was secure in the fact that, no, I actually have the positioning of his leg, so I can actually go for it. But Robertson's shot was sloppy, and he didn't actually have the leg in the proper position to go for it in the first place. And so for me, I looked at it, and I got to tell you, Allen looks super slick on the ground. He looked so good on the ground. So when he went for the heel hook, and I always cringe, because heel hooks are one of the worst submissions ever, because it can destroy you. It can destroy either your ankle or your knee, and then you're out. You can be out from anywhere to 5, 6, or a year, like depending on the severity of the injury. It's a nasty submission, man. It's nasty. So once he sunk that in and you saw Robertson scream out in pain, I'm like, oh man, I hope his knee isn't destroyed.
Yeah. Hopefully he got the tap done before any severe damage was done. I wasn't expecting Brendan Allen to win this way. The Sanford MMA guys recently have been winning with a lot of great kickboxing coming from the Henry Hooft camp. Once it did go to the ground, he really seemed like, he was much superior and was able to get a win. Didn't really take much damage in that fight and looked really, really good.
Yeah, no, you look fantastic. Again, like even with the stand-up and everything else, it was tit for tat, because Robertson's a very good stand-up martial artist. But once it went to the ground, he really showed his superior class in that respect. Looked fantastic.
Called out Sean Strickland. He lost to him recently. He seemed really angered by that. He said he's going to avenge that loss, and we'll see if the UFC gives him that opportunity. He sure proved himself well, and I think we will see a rematch coming between those two. To start off the prelims on this pay-per-view, we had a Canadian, Tristan Connolly, local guy from our parts here. Last time we saw him in the cage, He had one of the most incredible performances that anybody's ever had in UFC debut, fighting a guy 2 weight classes bigger than him, a guy that didn't even make weight at that weight class. He came in and weathered this early storm from Michel Pereira and was able to get a massive win, changed his life with a bonus, $50K bonus, and many things. He unfortunately went through a car accident and he had to have neck surgery. And this is his first fight ever since that. So he was on a long road to recovery. I'm not sure if it had a big impact on this fight, but Pat Sabatini was the better fighter on this night and was able to get the decision win.
Yeah, Pat definitely was the superior wrestler. Wrestled him and got him to the ground. And I guess when he had the top position, when he was top heavy, never gave Tristan enough airspace so that he could buck and try to get him off him so he could stand up. Took his back numerous times throughout the course of that fight, which gave Tristan all sorts of problems. And it was only till finally the third round where you could Tristan's cardio was better. It was amazing, actually, that he was able to actually put on pressure, win the third, most certainly won the third, as he was hunting for that guillotine choke but couldn't get it, and then lost the fight. But I could definitely tell that if that fight had been a 5-round fight, Tristan was actually beginning to come on. He wasn't stopping. But unfortunately, he just did not do enough in the first 2 rounds to get the win. That's why Pat won.
Yeah, he was able to get that back position. He was able to get the body lock. And Tristan was having a lot of troubles. This time, the crowd was very against him. They were chanting USA, USA. When we saw him live here, he couldn't have had more people supporting him. One of the loudest cheers I've ever heard live. And he was definitely the favorite local. I don't know if that had any difference in that, but he was definitely the villain in this one.
Yeah, well, it's the Canadian. It's the American fans. They always chant USA. It's almost like it's their go-to. USA. Like I've even heard them chant USA when it was 2 Brazilians in the octagon. I don't understand that. I don't get that. But yeah, man, I guess he was the villain, but he couldn't be a nicer man. Couldn't be a nicer guy. It was unfortunate that he lost, but I just do want to put in a quick aside. One of my friends that was here when I was watching the fights yesterday is a very good friend with Tristan. And so he sent him a pic that I saw of him and Pat enjoying a beverage after the fights. So, and it just goes to show that, yes, they go into that octagon and they go to war. At the end of the day, there's nothing but respect and love at the end of the day.
I love it. I've attended many post-fight events, and it's so great to see 2 of the guys that just went in there and were combatants against each other, sharing a beverage together. It's a great thing about the sport. There's so much sportsmanship, respect. Once a guy agrees to go in there and trade shots with you, I think your respect level for that guy rises. And both of them put on a battle. I thought Tristan won that 3rd round and was coming on, like you said. Sabatini said one of the toughest guys I've ever fought. Really, really good guy in there. And nice to see the picture. You'll have to share it with me. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, if I get it from my friend, for sure, I will do that. I will do that for you. But yeah, it's unfortunate setback, but in any setback, it's a chance to grow and it's a chance to learn.
Yeah, well, we're going to reach out to Tristan very soon, let him get a few days recovery, but love to have him on as a guest really soon and see what's next for him. I'm sure he's on a 4-fight contract, so this is probably just the first one out of that. So he's probably at least got 2 or 3 fights to go. So hopefully he didn't take any damage, get a very long suspension, and we'll be able to see him in the cage really soon.
Well, hey, as Uncle Dana said, he wants his fighters to fight at least 2 to 3 times every year now, right? So he's definitely going to be fighting again at some point in time, hopefully twice this year. So we'll see. when that next fight is.
I know you didn't get a chance to see the early prelims. I sure hope you do. It was amazing. The very first fight of the night, it was a women's strawweight fight between Liang Na and Ariane Carnelossi. Man, those girls came out and there was just an immediate action, just so much action. And Daniel Cormier, Joe Rogan, and John Anik were all just jumping around, excited. The energy level that they had, maybe because of the crowd, maybe just because that's what they wanted to do early on. But man, it was fun. That first fight was incredible. The first 4 fights of the early prelims were a lot of fun. I couldn't believe the difference in energy that I had compared to the fights I've seen with no crowds. It added an element, and it wasn't even full yet. Most people didn't show up until the prelims or the main card, but it still had just an electricity that was incredible.
Yeah, and you could see that from the prelims, from the main. Like, once the fans are there, they add their energy to the athletes. Because, like, I know when the UFC first started putting on their events again, you just had to see these guys kind of walk to the octagon and be like, okay, let's go. It's just like, because they have nothing to feed off of. There's nobody there, right? Like, and it was refreshing to see that the athletes were grateful to see the fans again. I don't know. I kind of personally think maybe it's a little too quick for all those fans to be in there at that particular time. But as for the athletes anyways that were in that octagon on that particular night, I think it was very gratifying for them, and they fed off that energy because they hadn't seen fans. Nobody's seen fans for a very, very long time.
Yeah. We both agree that we didn't want to see that many fans, but it is nice that fans were there to create some more atmosphere and a little more excitement, electricity. Watch that prelim, those early prelims. Really recommend it. A fun way to kick off the night for me. Okay, why don't we turn to next week's card? It's a fight night between Dominic Reyes and Yuri Perhacka. I see this light heavyweight battle being very, very, very good. I think it's going to be a hell of a battle.
Yeah, because Perhacka is, if I remember correctly, he's unorthodox to the extreme. So Reyes is going to be has to be very careful with the guy that is just going to come at you from weird and different angles and do weird techniques and a bunch of just weirdness. So, and also too, Perhacka has power. He's got some power to him too as well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. It's going to be a very interesting fight because Reyes is a very, very good fighter. But Perhacka he's unorthodox. I'm just going to say that he's unorthodox in his approach, and it may shock Reyes because trying to train for a fighter like that, you can't, because nobody fights like him. It's going to be tough, but it should be.
And Reyes had a really good showing against John Jones when Jones was the champ, and some people actually thought Reyes won that fight. The decision went to Jones, but Reyes is no slouch, and I think this will be a great main event. I'm looking forward to it. The co-main has Cub Swanson and Giga Chikadze. Love seeing Cub, one of my favorite fighters on the roster. Always just never say die attitude, hell of a battler. This will be fun. He's fighting a bit younger of a guy, but what do you think of this one?
I love it. You gotta bet against an up and comer, and they're clashing, and we're gonna see exactly how good Giga is because he's up against a solid bet in Cub Swanson, and this you could say, in respects, could be possibly a crossroads fight. To say is either Giga raises his stock in the UFC, or Cub puts him back down and says, "No, you're not ready for the big time yet."
We'll see. A lot of good fights on the card. I mentioned Sean Strickland. Brendan Allen called him out. Sean Strickland faces off against Krzysztof Jotko. We've got Cody Stamen on the card. Ion Kutaleba faces off against Dustin Jacoby. And yeah, there's a hell of a lot of battles on this one. We've got the Canadian Randa Marcos on the prelims. And yeah, it's going to be fun as well. Oh, yeah, Canadian KB Buller is fighting on the prelims as well. He fights at middleweight. Andreas Michailidis will be his opponent. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch and break down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's a bunch of really solid fights on that card. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Shifting back to last Saturday's 261 card, one of the people on the front row that was shown a few times and talked about a little bit on the podcast was Jake Paul. Daniel Cormier been called out by him, said some nasty things to him. Daniel doesn't like him, and they ended up having some words. But some of the things that Jake Paul said after the fight, I really, don't have a problem with. He really put it to the UFC and Dana White and said, why are these guys so underpaid compared to boxing? I made more than them in this past fight than most of them have made in any of the fights in their whole lives. And he was, not shy with talking about it. I think Dana White's pretty upset about what were your thoughts hearing all this stuff?
Actually, you know what? If you're going to get under somebody's skin like he wants to because he's an irritant, that's the best way to do it to Uncle Dana. By saying, I'm a YouTuber. I'm not even a professional boxer. I just got to throw some stuff together. And I get paid way more than any of your guys do. Like whatever Francis Ngannou made, I made like 5 times that. And I'm not even a real fighter. So what are you doing? And it's good because he's not lying. He's just telling the truth. And then that's what hurts even more because he's absolutely right. He's right. He's like, oh, you're not paying your dudes. Hey, don't worry. Come over to my show. I'll pay you. And that's the other thing he's saying without saying it. Come over and do my nonsense because I guess my nonsense still gets me paid way more than what you guys get paid. Because even Askren got paid, I believe, $1 million, right? That's his biggest payday he's ever had in any fight, period. So he does have a point. And that's why Uncle Dana is super pissed off because he doesn't want this guy screwing with his stuff. I get it, man. I get it. I still don't like the dude. I don't like him at all. But yes, he makes a valid point.
I was wondering if Jake Paul paid for his ticket or it was supplied by the UFC, and all of a sudden they regretted their move, him being in there, and it's shaking the trees. Maybe he's hoping to get some of these guys to come over to boxing and get some more money from some of these crazy cards.
Yeah, because that would it's savvy business sense because it would add some legitimacy to his nonsense that he puts on because it's Tiger King boxing, like it's great. Awesome. But he does, again, I do love the fact that he brought that up. And I do love the fact that Dana took it to heart because he's absolutely right. Like they want to push down what they pay these guys. They want to make sure that it's always, they come up on top with their revenue because they're a business and they're in it to make money. And they're also in it to make sure that they don't pay these guys that much money. It's changing though. And it's going to continue to change. Like they're going to have to keep upping the price because these guys deserve a lot of money because look at what just happened to Weidman. Do you think his medical expenses are really cheap right now? No, they are not. You know what I mean? And he doesn't have the ability to earn for his family for a freaking year. For a year. Yeah, these guys deserve the money. They deserve to be paid.
Yeah, I fully agree. A couple more UFC notes here. Tyron Woodley was cut from the UFC. I guess I kind of expected it, but he was there for a really long time, and they finally said that's it. What are your thoughts?
Well, hey man, he put on a good showing for his last fight. wasn't enough for him to get the win, but he did put on a good showing for his last fight. But I can't disagree with the decision. I think he's coming to the end of his career anyways, regardless. He might go on to like another promotion, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just gets into acting or whatever he wants to do. But whatever he does, I'm sure he's going to be wildly successful at it. And happy trails to Tyron Woodley.
You and I thought that after Robert Whittaker beat Kelvin Gastelum, he would be next in line to face Israel Adesanya, but they announced on the weekend that Marvin Vettori is his next opponent. Are you surprised?
Yes and no, because Marvin's been climbing up the ranks steadily. And also, too, we've already seen the fight between Israel and Whittaker. So I can see why the UFC just said, we'll throw Marvin in. Whittaker will probably not take another fight just to see who wins this fight, because then he would still be next up, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I can see why the UFC did that, just to put in a different face against Israel Adesanya. And either way, it's going to be a great fight, because like that, Marvin Vettori is no joke.
Marvin, I'm just pulling it up. Marvin and Adesanya fought. It was a split decision that happened April 14th, 2018. That was in Glendale, Arizona, UFC on Fox, the undercard of Poirier Gaethje, 2018. A split decision. Many people said that was probably the toughest opponent that Adesanya had ever had to that moment, for sure. So yeah, it took a while for Vettori to get back there. He had to fight 5 more times and win them all. But yeah, he's no slouch, and I think this is going to be a great battle, and we'll see the evolution between the two fights. I haven't watched that fight in a while. I want to watch it again and sort of get a gauge on it as it comes closer.
Yeah, man. Because either way, I think Marvin has improved from where he was to where he is now, right? So the game plan is going to have to change. It's going to have to change. I'm kind of curious to see how Marvin approaches this fight with Israel. I think personally he should just wrestle him, take him to the ground, and not even bother with the stand up. Like immediately close airspace, take him to the ground, and not worry about it. But I'm curious to see what he actually implements, and I'm sure Israel will try to just keep distance and just try to pick him apart at distance.
Vettori, in his last 5 fights, 4 decision wins and 1 submission win by a rear naked choke over Carl Robertson, who we talked about earlier in the first round. Yeah, so he wasn't moving the needle because he wasn't getting finishes, but yeah, he's been moving, back up the ranks, and 17-4-1 is his record. We'll see. I'm disappointed that Whittaker's not in there. I thought he deserved that shot, but he will have to wait. Last MMA conversation I want to have is the PFL, Professional Fighters League. Finally, after a year hiatus because of COVID, they finally had their first card this past week, and Anthony Pettis made a jump over. Rory McDonald has signed a contract with them. A fun league. I think there's a lot that I like about this league. I like that these fighters have opportunities to move up the ranks, and a $1 million purse for everyone that ends up being the playoff winner, the champion winner in each weight class. It's a kind of a cool way to do it, and they have scoring that you can see on the screen as they're taking their shots, as they're doing takedowns, everything. You're seeing real live scoring, and it's something that I hope the UFC implements pretty soon.
I love that idea. I love the idea because then they're not trying to hide anything. And then you can see what judges are competent, what judges are not competent. You know what I mean? And I think there's something to be said about seeing that, because then the PFL would have the wherewithal to say, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. We're not going to have you as a judge anymore. So maybe that it might be something that the UFC should look into, because I know that I can't tell you how many times we've heard it over the years where announcers and the analysts have complained about the judging and say, well, do they even know what they're doing? Do they know what they're looking at? Yeah, it has gotten better, but it's not stellar, like it's just not where it needs to be, I believe, yet.
Pettis was defeated in his first fight in PFL. He was upset by Cassius Clay Collard in PFL 1. And I recommend it. I think it happens every Wednesday. They show it locally here on TSN. You'll be able to watch it in the US for American listeners and viewers. And I kind of like that it's a regular season, playoffs, champion crowned at the end. It's a unique way of going about it. The only mixed martial arts organization that runs it this way, and a little more like most North American sports where there is regular season playoffs and a champion crown finally. It's a neat format. I think they're doing a lot of great things with this, and I hope it survives.
Yeah, to a certain respect, it kind of it feels like a tournament, except they're not doing the crazy thing like what they used to do back in the day. It's like, well, you're just going to fight 4 fights tonight, and if you win that 4th fight, you win all the money. It's like, oh, but I gotta try to get through all these killers first, eh? This is going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Pretty brutal. Very brutal, yeah.
Brutal.
It's amazing that they used to have nights like that. Yeah, four fights in a night, and you're almost dying, and you got to go in there and try to win. It was craziness, but it's similar to these tournaments, and it's good. I think we'll start hearing a lot of big names emerging. They were able to convince a few UFC fighters to go over there. And follow it, give it a shot to everybody. I've liked it so far.
Yeah, definitely give it a shot. Definitely follow it, and especially since it's Canadiana. This is ours. This is our thing. It's nothing to do with the States, so this is pretty cool.
Okay, so let's turn to the NBA. We have we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. There's a lot of storylines emerging. It's crazy in the East how 2 teams are on fire right now. The New York Knicks have won 9 games in a row. They're 4th in the Eastern Conference, and the Wizards have won 8 in a row. They've snuck up on everybody, and they're sitting solidly in 10th position. Can you believe that we're talking about the Knicks and the Wizards to start off an NBA podcast talk about the NBA?
No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it at all. But I have to say that for the Knicks, first off, I believe that it's Tibbs that's the head coach, right? And Tibbs has done an amazing job. He's completely changed the culture of the team, and he's got those guys in a winning mindset. Number one, first and foremost, he has those guys in a winning mindset, and he's put the pieces together so that everybody is being utilized in the right way, whether it be offense or defense. And so I got to give a lot of credit. I give a ton of credit to the new head coach in Tibbs, and then Julian Randle becoming who Julian Randle had the capability of being, and which is an all-star, the superstar that the Knicks need, and that the offense kind of runs through him. Awesome stuff. And then all of a sudden now, I guess Westbrook's figured it out. The walking triple-double that he has figured out a lot. And now he's playing lights out. And now the Wizards are relevant. Weird. I never thought I'd actually say that the Wizards are relevant, but they are. And they played so well that now they're into the play-in position in the 10th spot. So let's see if they continue to keep winning games.
Yeah, it's harming the Raptors' chances at getting into this play-in tournament. The Raptors sit 12th right now. They are 2 full games behind the Wizards, tied with the Bulls, who are in the exact same record, same position. Raptors have only been 5-5 in their last 10. Really poor on the road this year, 10-20 and 15-15 at their temporary home down in Tampa. Yeah, I don't know. The Raptors, might not have enough. The teams that are above them are all winning. They're all on winning streaks, and they're starting to maybe fade from the playoff picture. But playoff picture is really starting to take shape. We see the Nets on top, finally able to put some space between them and the Sixers. Sixers were on top most of the year, but they've lost 4 in a row now, and the Nets have won 2 in a row. We see the Bucks. The Bucks are in 3rd place, but they lost to the Hawks yesterday. Big win for the Hawks, who sit with the same record as the Knicks, 4-5. That looks like a first-round playoff matchup, probably. And then Celtics and the Heat, 6th and 7th. Charlotte 8th and Pacers 9th. So, a lot of interesting things shaping up there. As I said, lots of winning streaks on these teams that are above the Raptors. Heat have won, Hornets have won 2 in a row, Pacers have won 3 in a row, 8 in a row for the Bulls. So this might not be the year. The Raptors haven't been out of the playoffs since 2013, I think it is. So a long stretch, but they need to hope that the Wizards cool off quite a bit. Beal and Westbrook are just playing incredible right now, and they're looking good. Let's turn to the West. The Jazz, Suns, and Clippers all have a better record than Brooklyn. So those are the top 3 most winningest franchises in the West, in the whole NBA right now. And the Clippers are on fire. They are 9-1 in their last 10, have won 4 in a row. They're chasing down the Jazz and the Suns for top position. Lakers are falling back, and they're looking like might even have to be in that play-in tournament. It's been interesting the way things have started to shift a little bit in the West.
Oh yeah, very interesting. Especially Lakers were always going to fall. All right, like, because if you're missing your 2 studs, like literally, you're going to fall in the standings. I believe AD, Anthony Davis, has just come back recently, but he's trying to play back into form. So it's going to take him some time. And LeBron is still out, and they're not rushing him back for anything, period. He's only coming back if he's ready to come back. They will not rush him back at all. So all they have to do, the Lakers, is make sure they just make the playoffs. And then if they make the playoffs, then those guys come back and, then they're a problem for everybody. So, and then as for the top 3 teams, Paul George has been an absolute monster this season. He really has. As I've said before at the beginning of the season, and I'll say it again, he still needs to prove himself in the playoffs. So we'll see how that runs for him. Utah, I don't see any drop off there because Donovan Mitchell has obviously and clearly made that leap into elite level from last year's bubble playoff performance, clearly. So he's ready to get it going. And with the Suns, with Chris Paul as the addition, they're just playing beautiful basketball. They really are. It's just a thing of beauty to watch him. They press the right keys and orchestrate that offense the way it needs to be run at all times. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jazz are 44-16, amazing year. Suns are 42-18. Clippers 1 half game back. 43-19, they're the same games back. Nuggets, Jamal Murray was a huge loss for Denver. I really feel bad for him and the team. They had such an amazing run last year, winning a lot of those series down 3-1 and really emerging Jamal Murray onto the scene as one of the best guards in the league. Man, that hurt seeing him go down and him out for the season.
It hurt. It kind of tanked. I'm just going to say it. It kind of tanks their playoff chances because you can't replace his offense, period. There's nobody on that team that can do what Jamal Murray does. So it's unfortunate. And then the chemistry that him and Joker have on the pick and rolls and all that sort of stuff, you just can't replace it. You cannot replace him. So unfortunately, they're not going to be nearly the threat that they would have been if Jamal hadn't got hurt. So, but at the same time, Joker's still playing at an MVP level. And as far as I'm concerned, the MVP is his to lose. And I don't think he's going to lose it. I think he wins the MVP this year. He's had an amazing year this year. Absolutely amazing. Best big man passer that the league has ever seen. And I'm going to stand by that. He's the best. Nobody's better than that dude.
Incredible, yeah. We mentioned the Lakers. They're falling fast, 9 games out of first. Mavericks are playing pretty solid, won 3 in a row. They're sitting in 6th, seem pretty solid there. The Trailblazers have lost 5 in a row, 2-8 in their last 10. They're in trouble. They're dropping down. I think they're going to be in this play-in tournament. It looks like they're going to finish 7th, 8th place. I don't really know what's wrong with the Blazers. They've got Nurkic back. Maybe he's just not rolling into form quite yet.
I think it's a chemistry thing for now, because I think these guys, they're trying to get used to having Nurkic back, and I think Nurkic is still trying to play himself back into shape. But I think they'll figure it out before the regular season's done, and they'll probably go on a little run. But as long as they get it in somehow into the playoffs, you can't ever count the Trailblazers out. You really can't.
Grizzlies and Spurs battling out 8th and 9th. And then we've got the Warriors. They're sitting pretty solidly in that 10th position. They're 4.5 games ahead of the Pelicans, and they're 5.5. 6.5 ahead of the Kings. So it looks like the Warriors are going to get into the 10th, 9th, 10th position, maybe even 8th. Steph Curry has been just out of his mind lately. Just incredible. He's leading the league in scoring per game. His average was 39 points a game in April, and he's just still hitting these long distance shots. Made another couple incredible against the Kings last night for a big win. So fun to watch. I need to watch every Warriors game right now because he is just much watch TV.
Yeah, he is. Okay, I'm going to try to throw something out here, see if I can remember the numbers. Because as of all the games before April 23rd, I believe there was a 12-game span that I just watched on one of the games I was watching. 12-game span before April 23rd. He was averaging 38 points, field goal percentage of 52%, three-point percentage of 47%, three-pointers made, 80. So so what they're saying is he basically made 7 threes a game for 12 games straight. That's utterly ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. He's a video game player now. He's a video game person. Like that, it doesn't even make logical sense anymore. He doesn't make sense. There's no logic to his game. He's amazing.
Yeah, he just set an NBA record for most three-pointers made in a month. Month of April, he hit 85, past James Harden's record. And yeah, he's just so dead on. From anywhere on the court, he's scoring the ball. His shooting accuracy is just incredible. And yeah, it's just really too bad they didn't have Klay Thompson and the full squad this entire year. Would have been fun to watch, but I think they're going to make some noise in this play-in tournament and get an opportunity at someone top of the West. And yeah, they're going to be fun. It's going to be great to see them in the playoffs still, even though they are so undermanned. Zion Williamson reached 2,000 career points yesterday. That is his 79th career game. It's the fewest since Michael Jordan in 85, who did it in 73 games. This record kind of blew me away. I didn't realize he was up in that Michael Jordan territory to be able to talk about him in the same sentence.
Yeah, because I didn't think he was scoring at that incredible amount, like that. I just didn't think he was scoring that crazy amount. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I just everything that young man does, I'm impressed by, because just the way that he moved, his athleticism, the fact that he's a bigger version and a more jacked version of a Charles Barkley. It's amazing. He's amazing, man. And I look forward to seeing more of what he can do on the court for the next coming year.
Disappointing. It doesn't look like they're going to make the play-in tournament, make the playoffs this year, but a lot of good things ahead for the Pelicans. And I see them being a perennial contender. If they get another couple of pieces and they get a little older, it's going to be great to see. That's the NBA in a nutshell. Great to be able to talk a little bit about that. Big news, obviously, in the NFL. The NFL draft starts on Thursday. It goes through Saturday. Thursday's the first round, and then Friday and Saturday, the rest of the rounds. They're talking about the first four picks being QBs, quarterbacks. Never has happened before, but a lot of these teams at the top that got these top picks are in need of quarterbacks or want one. Jacksonville looks like it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. The Jets are leaning towards Zach Wilson, who a lot of people have said this has the kind of arm that Patrick Mahomes has. Justin Fields and Mac Jones is the people that supposedly the 49ers are looking at, and Trey Lance keeps coming into the mix. But I'm excited. It's going to be fun to watch and see who takes who and who's going to get to retool really quickly coming into next season.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who takes who, and then what guys actually stand out once they get onto the field, and then like who's the real studs, and then who's the you're not as good as we thought you were. Oh, like hopefully we don't see too many Ryan Leafs, like none at all. That's what you don't want to see. But at the end of the day, like I hope that the teams get what they want, and that we have some excellent football coming our way with some excellent prospects, and that they are able to show their skills on the field.
Yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait. It's going to be fun to see who retools and who they get. And that's the one good thing about the NFL draft, though, is usually you can change your fortunes of your team really, really quickly. These are usually guys that have played 4 years of college ball, and they are men. We see the draft in the NHL, guys that are 17, 18 years old, usually years away from helping your team. NBA, it's quite a bit of one and you're done. They had 1 year of college and they're coming in really raw. But the NFL, we've seen teams go from worst to first very, very quickly, and it's a nice thing to know that the guys that you're getting, usually they can make an impact right away.
Yeah, it's a very nice thing to know if those guys do make an impact, and they can just change the fate of your team in a heartbeat. Before you know it, then all of a sudden it's just like, oh man, this guy's really good. And now we're really good, because everybody wants to find that one player, like that. God, I'm gonna have to use his name again. The Tom Brady. Everybody wants to find that guy, and if you can find that guy, then your future is nothing but sunshine, rainbows, roses. It's really nice.
Exactly. So great week ahead. Fantastic to wrap up the weekend of sports with you as always, man. I hope you have a few good days of work and you get some good rest in, enjoy the sunshine, and let's keep in touch. We'll definitely do this again next Monday.
You betcha, bud. Bye for now.
Okay. All right. Take care. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fun as always. A great Monday podcast. 2 podcasts today. Haven't done that in a few weeks, but very soon we're going to be doing quite a bit. Be ready for extensive amount of content. Going to have a lot more free time. I've reached out to some big guests, and today Tanner Bozer, Jason Cameron, 2 fantastic guests. Really stay tuned for so many more great conversations. And we're going to be launching a new aspect of Complete Sports Media Network soon. We're going to be talking about music, movies, entertainment, lots and lots of things coming down the pipe. So please stay tuned. Thanks for your support as always. Go to CompleteSportsMedia.com and support our partners and sponsors. Let's mention Anchor FM, Verbero, Forever Living, and Pampas and Possibilities. You know the details if you've watched. Go to our website. You can find out the details of those and fantastic companies and purchase products at really reduced rates. And thanks, Jason, as always. Thanks for everyone that always helps put on these podcasts. Appreciate your support and take care. Have a great week ahead. Love you. Bye for now.